Okay, I had to change the orientation of the thing. The tripod. Got a new one. It is all the way up. That's interesting. So let's see how this goes. One day I'll get it together. I can't. Okay. So here I am. Back again. Eventually gonna get it together. I've got all of this stuff. I'm gonna plug in my pickle pot. Have it turned on. I grabbed a few things today at my local jewelry store. I grabbed a charcoal block. My husband had this steel here, and I'm going to attempt to use this. And I finally broke down and spent more than $8 on a pair of flush cutters. So this guy, I think, is going to do it for me. We'll see how it goes. Who knows? But man, oh man, did I try last night to solder this freaking thing. I did research, I looked up, left it in the pickle overnight because I had to stop. I probably spent another 30 minutes after I actually called it quits and got off, because I had to take a break. And I think it's important to realize when something's not working for you that you just take a break and come back to it. It's okay. That's normal. You're not gonna get it every single time. That's okay. So I burnt the crap out of it, which isn't a problem. So I'm just gonna pull it off effortlessly. And there's my solder bits that some of them didn't melt, some of them did. It is what it is. I'm going to cut me some medium solder. I'm going to put my kiln brick back over here. Open up a charcoal block. And charcoal is supposed to help the heat a little bit better. Help move the heat. This way, I'm actually going to do this and this. Put it on top here. And then I've got this that I'm going to put on top of that. All right. I'm at it a little bit earlier today, which is nice because I've got the light. I feel it in my bones that today may possibly be the day that I get this. I feel it. I feel it. Maybe. Who knows? But I am going to just shape my bezel wire, which I'm pretty certain at this point that I'm a little bit familiar with. Hi. I got my tweezers. Gonna get a blush I just want to say flesh. I don't know what's wrong with me. I always want to get a flush cut here. I want to make sure I line it up at the line here. Whatever. That's interesting. Hope everyone's having a good Thursday. Tonight I am going to be on live with Miss Tiffany and of course my homegirl Miss Jenny Gems. We're going to be rocking it out for our theme Thursday. But until then, I figured I'd take this opportunity to play outside. Level it out a little bit because the way I cut it may not be. It's been raining all day. Man, I can't wait for rainy day weather. It's hot over here. It's in like, should be maybe in the 90s, I think. In California, could use some rain for sure all the way around. So I'm going to take some hard solder here and I'm going to solder my my bezel, which I have learned in this process doesn't take nearly as long as it takes to heat up copper. But as always, every time I go back in from a night of maybe making an error or not doing something 100% the way maybe it should be, I always, whether I'm folding laundry or something, always try to have a video on in the background that'll help me with soldering. Better just try. So always doing research. My husband even suggested maybe looking into like a forum or something. But I think I have Sandy just popped on right now and hers making jewelry. Must have just been that kind of day. So I put a few more than I needed, and that's okay. I'm gonna line it up here. Not 100% perfect, but that's okay. I'm gonna take my flat here and make it a little bit more flat. I can always reshape it after I solder it a bit more. I mostly go on live for myself, I think. to get a little bit of a better idea of how the mistakes I'm making, what I can do better next time. So that's me. All right. For my third hand here, because it's at a weird angle. Holding that up just like that. Filled up my torch last night. Just want to crystallize the solder. Bend back my tweezers. Stay melted. And put a bit of solder on here. Bent it over, and I made sure I heated it up to pull the solder out towards the other side as well, so I have a solid seam. So I'm going to take it with my pliers here. That's what it looks like, and quench it and put it into the pickle. So that's what it looks like now. It's all fused together. And I'm going to work on the next step. Charcoal block. Steel plates. Hi, hi. Ring. And I gotta say, I've been soldering for a couple of days, and I just figured out that you can leave your finger off of the torch and still keep it going. Which would be like duh to a lot of people, but not so much to me. So, normally in cases like this, the bezel would be set on first and then you would put the ring band on it. But I'm doing things backwards, which is whatever. It's fine. I'm going to take some soft solder here. I'm going to cut just a few little ones to hit in the area here. And I am going to come at it the underside. Basically, instead of heating it from the top, I'm going to come at it at the bottom here through my wire mesh here, which is steel. And we'll see how that goes. Why don't these work? Am I doing something wrong. Okay, I have my solder cut. I have my line because I've done this about 8,000 times on where I want my bezel to go. I'm going to check my pickle. I see you. I'm going to get this guy out of the pickle. And I'm going to take, you can see the seam here, the shiny line, the seam. And it's easier to do it here and now, hi, instead of doing it a little bit later. So I'm going to take some sandpaper, wet dry sandpaper. And I'm going to take a little bit of a higher grit to a little, or lower grit to a higher grit. So I've got a piece of, what did I have here? 400. 400. I need some more abrasive. I need that abrasive coating. Abrasive. I got this big pack of sandpaper from Amazon. It is the wet dry sandpaper because originally I kind of dabbled in cutting stones. You know, slowly making my way to this point, I think. So I got 400 all the way up to, who are you, 3,000. So I know that's a big jump. And I do have little sanding things for my Dremel too, but for all intensive purposes here, I am just going to work at this a little bit, focusing on the solder seam, basically to get rid of the extra solder. I'm going to try to mute it as best as I can, not be like a, hey, look at me. That was a 400, and then I'm going to take a little bit of 3,000, take my finger and just rub just like that. That's a little bit better. Overall, when I get done, I'm going to take my Dremel to the whole basically project and buff it out before I add any kind of what is that, like I don't have liver of sulfur yet, but something to that effect, a darkening agent to go around, because I went ahead and stamped this with some embellishments. I don't know if you can see that. I think it's fun. All right, here we go. So I went ahead and fitted it. No gaps. Have it the way I want it. And I'm gonna poke my stone out. I'm gonna put my sandpaper away now, because I am done with it. I'll bring this closer to me here. And eventually I'll get kind of like a lazy Susan kind of thing so I can swirly whirly this guy around, but until then, it is what it is. So I'm going to take my brush and I'm going to flux my whole top here. Of my back plate. And flux again my whole. And one thing I didn't check is to make sure that this was level and flush. What I should have done. I'm so excited that I forgot about it. I'm just gonna stick this on here. Get my sandpaper back. And it's annealed, which means it's super soft. So I can either take and just kind of dab it, my rubber mallet. And I'm just going to go in circular motions too. Sorry about the jostling of the camera. I got a new tripod. Came really fast. Faster than I anticipated. And then I'm going to take my little rubber mallet and I'm just going to hit it just softly. Because I do not want to mess with any of the scalloping. I am going to have to take the stone one more time and fit it over the bezel so that it reshape it. That's just what I did here. It's going to be really nice. Pull this back to me, grab my brush one more time, and flux it again. And what I'm going to end up trying to do again, like I mentioned, is heat from below, so that I'm not directly heating that guy. And I've already kind of sweat soldered this a bit, so I do have some pallions that are already semi-heated on here. Looking to make sure if I see any kind of gaps. Solder pick, pliers, line it up. I'm going to take a few of the ones that I cut earlier and stick them in the spots that didn't have the sweat solder. And hopefully this will help me. It's all easy solder. Sometimes it's just easier to grab it with your finger. Stick it in there and move it around town. There we go. Okay. Again, make sure everything's lined up the way you want it. And at this point, make sure that it's on the lines that I've already done it. You got it. And go from there. already see the copper heating up 1,000 times better than yesterday, and which is just phenomenal. No, I may not be doing this in the exact matter, but the thing is that I am bound and determined at this point to frickin' do this. So I'm trying my best to heat the copper up and not so much the silver, because I do not want, there's flat, I do not want to burn my silver for the 800th time. Flowage. I'm real excited about that. That's fantastic. So, all in all, this whole kind of setup works a whole heck of a lot better than, of course, just having it sat on top of the kiln brick on top of that. So that's really good. Really, really good, actually. The true test is gonna be, hi. The true test is gonna be after the quench and all that. Making sure that this isn't, See, it flowed, but it didn't stick. See the flow? See that line? Looks like kind of like a goat, like a sitting goat. That's throwing that in the pickle. Clean it up a bit. Also gonna snab this out of here and throw that back in the pickle. So I think I know what I'm gonna do now. I'm gonna get this closer to me. I'm gonna put this here. And I'm gonna put these here. Yeah. So it's trial and error. But the thing is that at least I had some kind of flow happen as opposed to not at all. Because I was just not having any flow at all the other day. So I'm jazzed and pleased as punch that is even something that happened. All right. My pickle should be hot, so shouldn't take too long to clean off an item. And Back at it again. Testing the stone fit. I did just go ahead and hammer it briefly flat, hoping that, yeah, I got a good setup here still. There's my stone, there's that. I'm gonna reflux this thing. Put this guy back on here, right where I want it. Flux the inside, the outside. Placing the solder around here. Go ahead and fix it again. Hmm. Huh. There's some flow, and then there's some with no flow. Maybe I'm not rotating my heat enough in a better way. Quite possibly. I'm gonna take some more easy solder here. And I'm not gonna clean it. But what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna hit it with a little bit more flux. Really get in the center there. And I'm just gonna add a few of these pallions in here. And hit the spots again. As like I mentioned, there is some flow, but there is some that's not. It's weird. But I think honestly, this was a really big project for me to take on starting off. I recognize that. And where I see some light through, well, no light, but I mean like where it hasn't adhered, I'm gonna stick some easy solder here. And then we're just gonna do it, man. Really concentrate on rotating this. Make sure that the solder that I have is not jumping off, hitting it from the bottom. I have some crystallization of the flux starting to sort of look a little bit more glossy, which is the way you want it to look. Then I hit it up in the top, round about a few times. Hit it back again at the bottom. I'm determined. I'm not gonna let this beat me. Guys, the funny thing is last night, I was talking to my husband about wanting a new chair for out here. Like an office chair, something that will allow me to swivel, pivot, wherever. Basically something that has wheels. And we live in a neighborhood. And son of a stinker doodle. We live in a neighborhood, and some guy had put an old office chair out on the side of the road. And as my husband was bringing in the garbage cans today, he noticed. So I did have some flow. That's what I was looking for. I can see still some spots where the sweat solder hadn't adhered. I'm gonna try a little bit more because it seems like that method's really working for me. So I'm just gonna snip off a few. Too much flux will draw the solder away from the bezel area. Okay. I was concerned that there wasn't enough flux because I wanted the solder to know where to flow. But with that being said, it makes sense as well. I'm going to put in the areas that I see that there wasn't a flow and there was a gap due to my sweat soldering not working for me. I'm going to stick this here. Added caution. Because it's going to happen. It's not a matter of if anymore. It's going to happen. So like I mentioned, the office chair is in the process of getting Lysoled. But I just thought, wow, when you put the positive energy out there, sometimes, man. So I thought that was pretty chill. To be honest, finding an office chair was pretty right on. I had been wanting one. Damn. I'm gonna hit it from the bottom again. The next thing I think I want to do is just make a regular old, not so intricate thing. I don't think that this stuck. I just don't. I just have a feeling. It's just. But hey, it did. And right into the pickle. And we'll see how it goes. Okay. So in the meantime, I had this that was sitting in the pickle overnight. And I had this ring that I had made. And I wanted to stick it to each other to make a really pretty ring. This thing was originally a button cover, and I had been sanding it to get that kind of plate off of it so that it won't be rough. It's more of like a smoother kind of finish. So that's what I was doing last night. And sorry for the wiggly camera here. But I was just trying to see what I could do. I thought, have some fun. But basically, my goal was to just hit this outside area like I've been hitting. Because I mean, the flat is perfect. I'll go ahead and round this a bit so that it'll hear better. And of course, I'll bend the ring a little bit as well. But I just wanted to hit it in the spot so that it wasn't like you're gonna feel that rubbing against you the whole time. And it's a comfortable fit. Because no one wants to be uncomfortable. So while my pickles in the pickle, work on sanding in. And just kind of go from there. Taking my scrap, seeing how I can repurpose it. Obviously the stuff that doesn't, hi, almost Friday, exactly. Trying to use the scrap that of course doesn't have stone in it, because you can't solder with a stone. But just really paying attention to this outside area here, because I want to make sure it's comfortable to wear. Of course, if this piece is too big, I can always rip it. It's getting there. So, I have my seam on this that I'm going to take the same 400 grit, and I'm going to kind of take down a bit of that solder seam from the outside. I tend to use a little bit more solder than maybe someone who is a little bit more in the know-how about it. So it just means a little bit extra work, but that's okay. Doug, did you get the package yet? I sent it out. Well, granted, Monday was a holiday. Tuesday. It's only Thursday. But you live in California and so do I. And it was a priority. So hopefully either you'll be getting it today or maybe tomorrow. Let me know. So like I mentioned, I'm just knocking down the seam a little bit. If you're still in here, Dove. There you go. I have not done... Oh, this is good. Oh, cool. No worries. I always get nervous when it's... it didn't stick. I'm about ready to say shine it. Either way, I have an eagle ring. And a sterling silver. I'm going to set that guy off to the side. Because that's just what I'm going to do. I may have to talk to Sandy a bit about what the hizzy heck I'm doing wrong. So I am just taking this this ring band, sterling silver ring band here, and I'm flattening out a little bit so that it has a place to... I have a place to sit my embellishment on. So, just working in on that. And guys, don't forget, I'm going to be on with Jenny and Tiffany tonight. Theme Thursday, going to show some stuff. I'm actually just going to anneal this, which means I'm going to take the torch to it, heat it up a little bit, so that it's easier to work with. That should just be plenty fine there. Punch it. Let it cool down a little bit. Spot's still hot. Throw it in the pickle. Because it's work hardened. Overworked it. Stick this guy on here. Find a bigger hole to stick him in so he'll lay a little bit more flat. Or just literally grab my third hand here. See about it? In this episode of everything done a bit backwards. Again, I'm going to take some easy solder, soft solder, and stick it on the back here. Stepping on the beach. Boop, 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 boop. Yeah, I definitely know what that is. It's just I'm slowly working on the things to get for soldering, as it's a lot of the things, some of the things I can get locally and some of the things I can't. And I give myself like a weekly budget of how much I can spend on metalworking things. And anyways, eventually I'll get it. Where are you? Let's see. So it's been pickled, cleaned, pickle acid solution here, cleaned up a little bit. So now it's definitely more pliable than it was before, but this is 10 gauge. So what I can do is I can stick it on my ring mandrel that I took inside. But really, as long as I have flush on flush here, that works for me. Do you have a Harbor Freight in your area? They have good tools for cheap. I do. The third hand is in and around 15 bucks. And I've priced them for sure. It's on my list of things to get. I just haven't got it yet. So I'm putting 3 pallions of soft solder. I'm going to hit those with a little bit of flux as well. And I'm going to hit my ring here with it. The charcoal brick really, really helps, I think, in my opinion, my humble opinion. You can hit around the actual piece instead of hitting directly on it, which is awesome for me, I think. And I think I got a pretty good seal on it. Pretty good flow. Slap that in the pickle. So I had this in mind, but a lot of these blanks that I have are really thick. So I don't think that I'm gonna use them so much so. At least after the whole, this guy. I'll see what I'll do with him. Maybe I'll do something a little bit smaller than what I have, so that I'll make it work better. Maybe instead of a larger stone, I take like smaller bezel cups and go from there. Maybe just figure it around a little bit. But I really like, I've got 2 butterflies and they're both pretty thick. I'd say, I don't know, I feel like they're, instead of in the 20 gauges, I think they're in like the teens. That's how thick they are. I also have some 10 gauge copper. So what I think I'm gonna do is I think I'm going to embellish them a little bit. I'm gonna stamp them. So, of course, I think the first thing we all think about when we're doing soldering or making jewelry is rings or earrings or whatever. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take some of this flat, and it's flat, and take my caliper here to 0, and I'm gonna take my ring here. I'm gonna measure the inside of it, and it's today I don't bring a pen. I may just end up having to wing it because I think it was 60. Because you take the inside of the diameter and then you divide it by 2, and you take the gauge of the actual thing you're using and add that to it, multiply it by pi, and then you get the diameter. So, or it'll tell you, like, you know, whatever, this is what you need. So I'm gonna do 60, lock it down, measure it out. And the thing about the embellishing it or stamping on it is that it's gonna make it a little bit longer because you're stamping on it. I'm just gonna take my solder pick here and go a little bit past. I'm gonna take my flush cutters here, find the line, I may actually have to take my jeweler saw to this. She's thick. Put my saw away. And let's see what I have. My mandala little set here that I had recently purchased, and take that out. And I was using it actually to lift my tripod, so it was a little bit more forward, so you can see what I'm doing. And I'm going to take my vise that's over here. I'm going to look at these, and this one has like 3 dots, and this one has arrows. This one's got a couple triangles that kind of remind me of the Silpada, and then these have a few arrows. So what I might do is do something a little bit eclectic and find the letters of my name, Dev, and I'll make a ring for myself. And if you're like me, I'm a little dyslexic when it comes to my D's and B's. And I always have to put them down and really think twice about it. Fun fact about me. So I'm looking for the V, and my stamps got knocked over Sunday. Pretty sure that's a B. Alright, let's go nuts. I'm gonna take my blank here and flatten it out a little bit. I'm gonna take these find the middle, put the E. There it is. Use the E. And then I'm going to put the V on the other side. And I'm fine with things being, I would prefer things to be more eclectic. So that's the way I'm doing it. If they're all misshapen and kind of wonked out, I think it's cool. So this is what I have so far. I don't know if you'll be able to see it that well. think I'm going to also put some dots or something. Yeah, let's do some dots. And cool. All right.
Enough of that.
First thing I have to do is square up the sides, basically. File them. I don't know what time it is. I don't know. Let me know what time it is. I don't have a clock out here. It's like a casino. Jesus Christ. Sorry. Scared me. Thank you. Frightened me. Even used the Lord's name in vain. I can hear my mother going, Devin! Sorry. And fold it over here, my wrap and tap, because I gotta, I'm not saying I'm doing this fast, but sort of. It shouldn't take that long anyway. Just can't stop. gotta anneal it. It's too hot. Or too hard. Copper has a higher melting point than silver. And it got red hot. I'm gonna grab it with my cross-locking tweezers here. Quench it. Throw it in the pickle. And with that being said, I'm gonna go. Next time you'll see me, be Thursday. See you next time, guys.